que é essa daqui e eu paro a música. Aí quando eu mudo, tira a música, né?
Tu gira aí.
Boa.
Boa noite, boa noite. Tá tudo... tá tudo certo aí, pessoal? O áudio tá bom?
Deixa eu compartilhar no grupo RJ aqui.
Isso, por
Já
favor.
já a gente começa a falar inglês, né? Porque convidado hoje é especial.
Vamos ver só se tem alguém ouvindo a gente aqui pra dar aquele salve no áudio. Se tiver algum áudio muito baixo, muito áudio eu mudo, nos avisem, por favor.
Alguém respondeu? Top, boa noite, galera. E aí, Caio?
Opa, salve!
Opa, o pessoal tá chegando agora.
Aí, boa. Aí, estamos com... Aí, foi. Fica dobrado aqui, fica carona aparecendo.
Uhum.
É isso aí, Thiago, se quiser começar, a gente vai...
Vamos lá. Bom, pessoal, antes de mais nada, né, já falar aqui no começo em português com vocês. Hoje a gente está com um convidado internacional, né? Andrew dos Estados Unidos. Então, hoje a live vai ser, em sua grande maioria, em inglês, tá? E é isso, pessoal. Então, a gente pede desculpas aí. A gente vai tentar fazer da maneira mais tranquila possível. Se vocês tiverem dúvidas, podem perguntar no chat. Pode falar em português. O Alexandre vai ser nosso tradutor aqui. Ele vai acompanhar o chat. E a gente vai fazer aquele bem bolado, trazendo do inglês para o português. Beleza,
pode
pessoal?
mandar inbox também no grupo do Fábio Brasil, também tô acompanhando.
Show de bola.
Eu vou traduzindo você.
Então é isso. Let's go for the English now. Hey, Andrews. First of all, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation. It's really nice to have some to broaden our live stream. First live stream in English. So thank you very much for accepting this, and that's it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you having me on. It's wonderful for me as well, LeBron. I think, as much as anything, one of the things I've been most blessed with playing Flesh and Blood is being able to travel to so many places and meet so many people. So to be a part of continuing to expand that, I'm all here for it.
It's amazing. I think I can say that the Flesh and Blood community is good worldwide. You know, last year I had the opportunity to travel to Europe. I was in a vacation with my girlfriend, and then I used the opportunity to play the calling in Florence, and the people were so welcoming there. It was amazing. I really enjoyed there. And then I played. I passed the weekend in Geneva, and it was the same thing. You know, so I got really happy to see that's not only in Brazil; it's all over the world. Everybody's welcoming and enjoying the game together. It's really nice, really nice.
Haven't yet had the opportunity to go any place extremely different than America. You know, I've been to several places in Europe now that still spoke predominantly English, but that's going to be changing. You know, we've got so many different events all over the world these days that I'm having the chance to go to. So it's an amazing thing to see growing and to be a part of.
Yeah, that's really nice. I saw that you're on the stream that you did a top 8 in London, right? As well, right? So was that your first trip to play Flesh and Blood outside of the US?
The first one was Pro Tour Amsterdam, where I did not do nearly so well. Also playing Prism, some bad runouts, some absolutely horrendous draft play, some of the worst I've ever done. But London was the second major trip outside the US and my first kind of major finish.
Oh, that's really nice.
So to be able to get that in such a place, and especially because that particular trip was also one where my family was actually able to come out and visit as well. They were also planning a trip to England. So they were there with me for the top 8 day, which was truly amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. To have the opportunity to have your the family support during the event is really nice. And London is an awesome place. I had the opportunity to go there during my trip last year. I love it. I love it there.
Yeah.
Too many, like, every time you were walking, you were seeing something. Wait, I saw that on a movie.
Exactly.
Maravilha.
We went by Trafalgar Square, and they were in the middle of filming a movie there when we walked by.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So cool.
We didn't actually get to go in, but it was still kind of interesting to see. I think it was... I don't remember who the actors... It was some sort of major production, though. They had the whole thing blocked off.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of that in English. Maybe they're doing like some law that like incentivize filming, because like I saw like in the couple of months I saw like 3 films on Netflix that were passing on London. Anyways, I would like to ask you about the Prism. What brought you into the deck? Because I know that the Prism is a really skill intensive deck. You know, like it's not an easy deck to begin with, but once you understand like how the wheel turns, you know, like things start to get more intuitive, right?
Yeah, well, that's kind of exactly it. Not just in Flesh and Bloods, but in a lot of different games. I really enjoy being able to build some kind of engine with the cards and with the gameplay and get that going. I've actually played a fair bit of Mechanologist for similar reasons. But when Prism was first revealed in Dusk Till Dawn, and the ability to tutor these specific pieces out of your deck and then sort of start having them mesh together and do these big combos, especially back then when we had Tome of Divinity available. It was sort of love at first sight. Even before we had the current weapon we use, Luminaris Angel's Glow, we had the blue Luminaris.
The blue Luminaris,
yeah, exactly. So I wasn't able to use her too much outside of the skirmish season that happened around that. I actually did play the new Prism in Blitz with old Luminaris because it was just so interesting to me. Then heavy hitters came and they spoiled Angel's Glow, and it was gone. She has been my deck ever since. Again, I've still played some other things on the side, but to pretty much every major competitive event I've ever been to since then, I have brought Prism.
Prism is like a reward this, right? Like rewards you the dedication to play with it.
Yeah, being a specialist.
Yes,
absolutely. I mean, it's the sort of thing where it's not like I set out to be a specialist in the deck. It's just whenever a tournament comes around, it always feels like, for me, that's the best thing for me to bring. You know, for my first Pro Tour in Los Angeles, it was shortly after the hero came out. She was the deck I knew how to play. It seemed like a reasonable chance, and she was still so new that you got a lot of percentage points from other people not knowing how to play into you, because she's not only very difficult to play, she's very punishing to play against.
Yes,
so that was that. When Amsterdam came around, she actually was an extremely good choice. I just had a rough time of it there. London, again, she was, especially after we saw from the multiple top Prism finishes, another very good choice then. And for this past weekend at US Nationals, well, she was fine, and I'm glad to have done so well with her. The primary reason I brought her instead of another deck is because we had this limited format that we had such little time to prepare for. So I wanted to put more energy into that and just bring the comfort pick into the new meta. So while it's sort of worked out that way every time thus far, you know, as we move ahead towards Singapore, we'll see if that continues. I would love to continue playing her if she turns out to continue to be a good choice, but I don't want to sort of be forced into that position.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
In Brazil, we have a thing we call patch deck. The guys like to play the same deck for years or more. And you made top 8 with the same deck you play a long time. How could you say that ajuda? Como que ajuda?
Helps.
Help to train, to go, okay, it's automatic to me to play that, so I can go to draft, study this format, and that.
Sure. I'd say, I mean, for any specialist, person who's played a deck for a long time, you have the advantage in knowledge in most matchups you get paired into. And in a case like the Nationals, where there's these new heroes that no one has experience into, you have a strong knowledge base to quickly develop a plan for it. Gravy Bones was the big kind of story of the weekend. And everyone had kind of presumed out the gate that, as an ally-based deck, Prism would be extremely strong into him. And while I think that is true for the most part, you know, I played I was only able to play like maybe one game into him before the tournament, and I played another one during. And already I was able to tell just from those few experiences, kind of where the pain points are in the matchup, where the places where that Gravy absolutely can and does have edges over Prism.
Yeah.
Being able to anticipate those and not fall into some of the traps that these board state and kind of off-axis new heroes can throw you at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grave Bone seems to be like another really skill-intensive deck, right? Like because as I saw on the stream, I haven't played the Grave Bones. I was like this past 2 weeks I was focusing only on draft, because I knew like that once the US Nationals happened, we would know like how the meta was. So I just enjoyed using this time to train only draft. But like as I saw Grave Bones, my friends play and some videos on the internet, and during the stream I saw like that you have to work a lot with the action points economy because none of your allies have like go again. Almost none of them has natural go again. So you have like to do some tricks to get like use the potions, using the blue card that you tutor, and then when go to the graveyard you get an action point. All of those like little tricks that you can do to extend your turn. So it's another deck like that. I think we haven't saw the last version now. It's still in development, right?
No.
Not at all. It's a very similar story for the card guys. We had a number of people working on the deck and who brought their version of Gravy to the tournament, and they all realized that the gameplay from him, how to optimize the strategy, which allies are important, when to play them, was a massive skill ceiling. And the people who did well with Gravy at the event had not only maybe slightly more optimal lists or lists that they developed in a direction that just happened to work well for the meta, but were able to navigate those and develop the ideal strategies, especially into the Earth heroes, very quickly for that meta.
Yeah. Also, I want to ask you about the new card that deals 2 arcane damage. Really good card, of course. But have you feeling that is helping you finish the games? Feeling like helping against to beat like have popper decks? How you're feeling about it?
Yeah, Herald of Sekim's a weird one. Yeah. It's completely unique compared to the other Heralds because it doesn't have an on-hit. Instead, it requires you to give a third card out of your hand to get the same kind of Herald into Soul, Search the Tutor kind of deal. So, for myself at least, in what I've seen so far, that mostly places it as a tool for building your soul and getting your figments out of deck before a major combo with Vestige of Soul and Soraya and so forth. I've actually used several other very janky cards in the past to try and get a similar effect. I've played Soul Food on a number of occasions.
Oh my god!
You know what? Ask Michael Fung about it. We played a Battle Hardened once, and I turned 0 Soul Food at him versus Enigma, and it won me the game. So, but this card just seems like just a better version of that kind of effect, with the downside that it requires you to have the 3 cards. It requires you to have a yellow Herald in hand, which is not actually as consistent as you might hope drawing them together. And of course, it's a red if you're playing the Aura plan, which is a potential resource brick when you're trying to go off and you need to assume that any given card you draw is going to produce at least 3 resources. That's been the main use I've had for it, is just sort of to get the Figments and Soul out, regardless of defense reactions or poppers or whatever. The bit of extra reach has sometimes been helpful towards the end games, but that's usually not been what comes up. Usually in those games, if I do draw that Herald late, it's more than likely going into Soul from Genesis, honestly. So I can draw other resource cards, so I can keep developing more threats, flipping and swinging angels, and sending Heralds that actually demand blocks. Now, of course, if they're at a lower left life total, that 7 damage is exactly that, sure. But in those cases, it kind of feels like you've won the game already.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. And also, I want to ask you about the new addition to the list, the new gen. That's the gold. So we were like talking in our group chat, like why he's using it, and to cycle the hands is to make like one resource with a blue. So can you answer us why?
Sure. So Herald of S is the new card that was obviously for Prism. The new gem though is great for her, also in the Vestige games. It's kind of shocking how much use and how many different uses you can get out of that gold over the course of a game. The primary purpose of it is to guarantee you an extra resource when your Vestige of Soul is active.
Yeah.
The way the math on your initial combo turn works out, if you do make the assumption that every card you see is going to make 3 resources, you actually wind up a resource short of where you really want to be, which is flipping and swinging Soraya, playing Genesis, and playing Arclight Sentinel. Having a gold out ahead of time will always get you that 10 at that point like 15th resource that you need. And then later on in the game, it gets you go from pitching a card for 3 resources to pitching a card for 4 resources, which is 1 card, Merciful Retribution, Genesis, whatever. Just because the cost curve of the deck is sort of designed around pitching yellows, getting 1 extra when your cards are now also pitching for blues usually can represent a whole extra card's worth of pitch effectively.
Yeah,
and this is on top of the what you said, the filtering out bad draws. You draw a Figment, pitch it away, get a new card that actually does something. Digging for more auras. And there's some other corner case things it can do, like let's say you have just gotten your Figment of Rebirth and stacked a Herald on top. You can immediately draw it with the gold.
That's right.
Yeah. Or similar idea with the Angel of Rebirth, the Avalon. Stack your Arclight Sentinel. Go ahead and immediately draw it to replay it out without needing, Soraya to still be around if she's been killed already. There was a particularly funny turn I had in testing against Verdance, where I had great library of Solana out, and she just stripped all my cards except for 1 out of hand. So I start the turn by Genesising that card, pitch it to a gold, draw another yellow, pitch that to awaken an angel and attack with it, and off of 1 card I've both flipped and swung an angel and gotten 2 yellows in my pitch for library, thanks to the gold token. So, that's not the primary purpose of it, but you can always find some way to use it. Even if it's just cycling it out. I think in my stream game versus Florian, that's pretty much all it was just recycling the Fable later to draw a new card and remake the gold in that case. And that was fine. It got me the extra bit of gas and search to help close out that game.
Nice.
Talk about this game. Like I was, is it always like this in the Florian matchup? Is always go to fatigue. I know it's grindy, but like it always go to that like fatigue stalemate where he just wants you to, because that's what I felt like. He was going to make you finish your deck. Like doesn't have more threats on the deck,
like
right?
damage to kill.
Yeah.
I would say if it's gotten to that point, things have probably gone pretty well for us.
Yeah.
Florian's a really tough matchup. He has a lot of tools that can get around our usual setup. Things like Summer's Fall to both attack us or an angel and bottom an aura, which is like a Merciful Retribution. We don't even get the soul and arcane damage out of it if it's being bottomed. The Rune chance to reach over the Arclight Sentinel and hit the angels. So it can be very difficult, and of course, just the regular disruption of like felling and so forth. So it can be very difficult to even get the combo off in the first place at times and get what we need for that. So if we're in a state where I'm actually having established and I'm churning through my deck like I was in that game, that's usually a good thing. It's very difficult for Prism to die to fatigue if she has her tools in place. Just because the angels are so potent at repeatable endgame weapons that you can't afford to just block out on them. Like almost no deck can do that. You will leak damage. It will chip you down faster than I run out of cards in deck. I think the only truly games that have gone all the way to fatigue have usually been against new, because they're taking extra cards out of your deck then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even that's unusual.
Talking about the matchups, what was the other matchup that you lost? Was the mirror or
Yes, it was the mirror, round 4 of day 1.
what happened?
Everything went wrong. Everything went wrong.
I know how it feels like.
So any illusionist mirror is going to be weird and kind of tempo based. The Prism mirror probably even more so. It started off with me losing the die roll, and that's a very big deal because going first in that matchup is like a 20% win percentage swing or more. And exactly what happened to me is what I don't want to happen. They go, jam a couple of heralds, and I have a hand of 3 no blocks. So I'm taking a bunch of damage. They're getting soul. They're getting their angels flipped. They're getting everything that they want. I managed to fight it a little bit by actually managing to luckily hit a Light of Soul trigger and get my own angel established turn 0. Unfortunately, I then draw up my next hand, and there are no heralds in it.
Oh my god.
There is... So all I can really do is take a mulligan on an Arclight Sentinel and pass it back. I drop the next hand. There are heralds in it. There are no yellows in it, so I have no go
goodness.
again.
My god.
So
I play Running Blade? Oh my god.
Yeah, it was bad, and it gets worse too. So I clears one angel with mine, Arsenal pass. He clears my stuff, does more damage to me. I've drawn up my hand, and again, no yellow.
Oh my god.
It wasn't meant
at
to
this
be.
point, it's over.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be a 4th turn, right?
This is the type of game that you pile shuffle after it, right?
A little bit, yeah. Of course, he took advantage of it very well, and I did my best to battle back. I tried to Halo and do some Soraya stuff, but it's just too far behind. And if you're the first one to break Halo in that matchup, it's just so bad.
Yeah. Then when this happens, how can you put the mind in a place to continue? It's a 15 rounds tournament. You lost one, your deck didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
How you can concentrate again and go, okay, now I will win next 10 rounds.
So, honestly, the worse the loss is, kind of the easier it is for me, because it's very easy for me to kind of brush that off and say, okay, stuff went wrong there. This is not on me necessarily. It's a lot harder if I feel like a loss happened because I made some kind of major flub or mistake during it, which has happened. It's happened several times. It happened throughout the course of that tournament. Even in games that I won, I look back and say, oh, there was a place where I absolutely could have and maybe should have lost the game because of that. That said, some of it is just having been to a lot of tournaments at this point. I remember U.S. Nationals last year. I was in a kind of similar position. At day 1, I had 1 or 2 losses over the course of the constructed and draft, and I still had a good shot day 2, going through it. So it's important to remember that it's the sum total of your tournament, not just the one loss, that defines it. Is what I would say.
Also, we would like to ask you, how was Vegas? Not only the tournament. We know you did good at the tournament, but how was Vegas? How was visiting it? Was it our first time or not?
It was my first time in Vegas. U.S. Nationals was held there a couple years ago, but it was actually before I started kind of competitively playing the game, so I wasn't there. I didn't get to see a ton of Vegas because it was a pretty short trip for me. I flew in the Thursday afternoon, and then, of course, tournament starts on Friday, and flew out Sunday night on a red-eye.
Oh, my God.
Yes. So I really, other than going out to a few places to eat with the teams in the evenings, the only time I really had to kind of do Vegas stuff was during the day on Sunday, actually. I was at a blackjack table before my top 8 game, and I went back to some other tables with some friends after the fact as well. And that was a lot of fun. I was fortunate enough to go and win some more cash doing that. We were very lucky there.
That's really nice, yeah.
But, it was still fun. Good time, good vibes. I would say if you're going to, be at an event like this and go gambling or do something like that, try and do it with friends. It makes it so much more interesting and fun. Big shout out to Will Bradshaw, my teammate, who is just a hoot and a holler to be gambling around.
And Josh Lau played blackjack too.
I never got to play those with him. We did have a small poker night as a team once. I bombed out of that very quickly, and it was late, and I needed to go to that, so didn't do a ton of that. But yeah, he was around. He had some fun as well. He was the one who was directing some of our culinary experiences. A number of us had never had dim sum before, which he's from Hong Kong, so he is very well acquainted with all the best stuff. Found a really nice place for us to go to, and it was one of the best meals I've ever had.
Really nice.
Perfect. Yeah. I feel like that every time I go to São Paulo, because like here in Brazil, like the place that most of the events happens are in São Paulo. It's the biggest city in Brazil, and also I think it's the biggest, like, if everything that's nerdy related, like geek related, is gonna happen in São Paulo. So, and there's a huge Japanese community there, because I think it was the biggest immigrant, like there was an huge Japanese immigration back a century ago. So there are lots of good Japanese restaurants. Every time I go there, I go to one of those. Look, maybe even though like there's sometimes like before the event, I have a friend that lives there, doesn't even play Flesh and Blood, but I always call him and say, "Let's go, let's go." Japanese food.
That's fun.
I'm a big sucker for good sushi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you would love Liberdade. Is the name of the, how can I say,
the
neighborhood.
Yeah. It's like liberty, liberdade. The name.
Yeah,
the
Liberdade. Yeah. Do you plan to come to Brazil someday, like to play an event like Howling or stuff like this?
Sure. I mean, certainly if there's like a tier 4 event, if that I can make too, I will absolutely be there. I actually have generally not traveled for callings too much. My finances and work don't usually allow for quite that much flexibility and frequent travel. That said, as things change, and as we continue to have success in this game, that might change in the future. As I kind of mentioned before, one of the things I've enjoyed most about playing competitive Flesh and Blood is the chance to go to so many different places. And if the opportunity arises to go to even more, I certainly will not say no.
Yeah, really nice.
Well, you're gonna have lots of friends here if you come to Brazil anytime soon.
You can count with us, Andrew Cook.
Yeah, we're gonna have like a huge like Japanese food like party.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Ramen.
I'm there.
I have a little chat with Taylor, and he said that he will bring the team, all the team to Brazil next year if we have some event. And to you guys, it's easier. It's 5-to-1 in conversion of money. So it's really cheap.
The more we can get, the better, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if the whole team can make a trip like that, absolutely, that would be a blast.
Oh, of course. This year we have a calling, and we have 8 or 10 guys from out of Brazil, and it's very nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see people from. Yeah, Michael Funk came here.
Michael
Hamilton as well.
Mansant.
Yeah. I played against a guy from Singapore. I don't know if he's famous or not, but like the first time I met him was during the tournament, and then he told me like he always wanted to visit Brazil to know like how it was there, and then since he played Flesh and Blood, he saw like the calling has a perfect opportunity. Yeah, it's really nice.
Exactly.
And I feel really happy like on calling São Paulo. I saw like the Latin America community is growing every time. Like there are some people from Chile, lots of people from Chile that come. I think there was a guy from Argentina as well.
Yeah.
And that's something like I personally hope that like gets even better, because I would like to have like more like a circuit from like Battle Hards and callings throughout the Latin America. Like when it starts to have like some more countries to host like Flesh and Blood events, is gonna be way easier to travel, like because like a travel to Argentina or to Chile is way less expensive than like going to the US or going to Europe. Singapore. Yeah, Singapore. I can't even tell. Like it's almost like more than one day traveling to Singapore. It's really tough.
Yeah, I booked my
for you as well, right?
A little while ago. It's gonna be 25 hours in transit both ways.
My God.
Yeah, that's really, really tough.
Yeah, that's
I got my spot, but I'm not going. Sadly, the money plus the trip is just a lot.
It's too expensive. Too expensive for you in Brazil.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the London winnings, I wouldn't be able to go, honestly.
Yeah, I totally understand. I would like to ask one thing. Like, there's a debate that like I'm not like a Prism player. I'm not like too. I don't know too much about like play with the deck. I know how to play against. I think so, right? But like as a noob, I play with noob, and every time I play against my friends that they are competing with Prism, right? Some of them use the what is the name? I forgot the name of the chess. There are two chess pieces.
Rapture?
Yeah, the Rapture and the Vestige. I played against like Prism players that use either one of those against me, and none of them like knows how to. I couldn't get like in a consensus which one's the better. Like the guy who's the ones that play with Rapture. They say it's the best one because you're gonna every time you're gonna flip for free an angel, and then you're gonna have like a huge board to prevent the attacks. And on the other hand, like the Vestige, it helps you to get a bigger board with like the Spectra auras, right? And it's a problem as well for assassins in general. So I saw that they used the Vestige, and it was interesting because like it worked really well. So like I'm more used to play against the Rapture. He used the Vestige, my bad. And I saw during the game that it was really, really good. Like the game was decided like in a decision, like a bluff that happens. Like you can't control that. Like either one.
I'll be talking about that particular game actually on Kevin Murphy, SmurfFab's channel. We do VOD reviews. I'll be going on to talk specific about the.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
I'll have plenty to say about that game in particular. As for just the new matchup in general, I mean, I've seen and tried it both ways for sure, and both of them can work. 100% absolutely can. Especially back during the earlier days, back when Zen was around and some other things, I would say it was definitely more correct to play Vestige. They were on more poppers back then. I remember very distinctly in Amsterdam, I sat down from a new once who was on not only like the CNCs and like some erase faces, but like Blanches as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So if the new has the tech for it, Rapture can get shut down pretty hard. And you have fewer options to play around and try and get tempo back when they do disrupt you. Several times during that game, she'd go for disruption. I just empty my hand, play a Spectre, and ask her to deal with it to try and get some tempo back. Not something you can do when you're on Rapture. With that said, this particular game and this particular build of new, it is, well, I should say this first. In general, into new, regardless of your game plan, you need to keep tempo versus them. You want to be sending your heralds because the fewer cards new is on, the less she is able to disrupt you, the less she is able to threaten you. It's why I actually was not on Herald of Second in that game. I kept in the red Herald of Triumphs for that because they would just be better at threatening cards, taking their armor.
And she was with less poppers, right? Like it was an open deck list, right?
Exactly. We just saw the free command and conquerors, and that was it.
They make total sense.
Yeah. So in that sense, it may have been that in this particular build, Rapture was slightly more optimal. And if new survives the national season going through here, it's a matchup that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on and retesting to try and find it, because it is a pretty narrow margin between the two. I'm still more in favor of Vestige because I think that it hedges against the new having that tech for you, and you have more ability to take back control of the game and not just sort of have everything go wrong all at once and just get constantly disrupted and shut down.
It makes sense. Yeah, I feel that like when I play against a Prism that using the Rapture, they are more aggro oriented. But like once I have the opportunity to pivot and then come back with a huge threat, game gets more in my favor, right? Like Even now, like I was playing, like back then, I was playing with the CYB list, so it was harder to do this. But like now that like the CYB is gone, and then we start playing again with like strikes and also the pain in the backside, which is necessary in a grave bonus like meta. So it gets even easier to get tempo back against Prism. It's still a bad matchup in my opinion, but like everything is possible. It's not like it's not by a margin. It's a really close matchup. Really close.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, for sure. You know, if you were relying on like an Angel and like a Spectral Shield to protect you from news disruption, not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough if they, you know, if you are not presenting something that they have to deal with, because a lot of disruption is usually backloaded. So if they're clearing a Spectre there, it's a lot harder to do that disruption. But if they decide that they can take a full turn to keep a full grip to take tempo, there's not a lot Rapture can usually do about it.
Yeah. Talking about the meta in general, the national meta in US was what you expected, or something was off?
Sure, it was, I would say, mostly as expected. I would say the amount of Syndra is always a little surprising, given the lack of conversion results she has always had. Now, some of that, I think, is due to a lot of people qualified for nationals during a season where she was pretty reasonable, and that was just the deck they were comfortable with. But yeah, Florian being the most played deck, Cinder being up there, the other assassins being around, and even Gravy Bones being pretty popular was also within our predictions.
Yeah.
As far as just surprises on that front, I think it's just how good the kind of Bullander style Verdance deck turned out to be, with both Majin and Lucas going undefeated day one with it, and of course both making the top 8 and Majin taking the whole thing. It's that's going to be a deck to watch out for, especially again if New does go, because I understand that's a very rough matchup for Verdance usually, and it was something of a minor miracle that Majin won that game. It's, you know, if she goes, she very well could be the best deck in the format moving ahead. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how things develop, because people now need to respond to that. But I'd say, as far as the national event itself was concerned, we were ready for everything we faced, with the exception of the one Max in the room that I ran into. But, that one had to play a little bit by ear, but I remember doing a few games of it back in the old days when High Octane was a thing, and this was fortunately a little easier than that.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be like, you have to be a lot really brave to play with Max without the High Octane, or you broke the system, like you found a new strategy that nobody saw, or you're like playing with much love for the character, right?
That man was there to kill prisms, and he found a bunch of prisms to kill.
Oh my god!
If I'm not wrong, he goes 7-2 in Max. He plays well.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you, what are your predictions for the meta? What do you think the meta will be once like New and Azalea LL? Because in my opinion, like, even though I'm hoping that New continues, because then I will have like the deck that I've been playing throughout the year to play. But like I'm aware that like the chances are really low for that to happen, because like they're gonna be this week. I don't know if it's this week or the next one. Gonna be like lots of nationals happening throughout Europe, and the Canadian nationals as well. So probably both, in my opinion, both decks will. I wouldn't be surprised if both decks LL. I think like once New LLs. It's gonna be it's gonna be better for Verdance, like you said, and also for the Guardians, right? Because Victor, it's a deck that uses really well this new gen as well, right?
Yeah,
like it's almost like a draw card, like pitch draw card. You know,
it's really crazy for him. It is just one card of the deck, so it is kind of like a high variance being able to find it. But it absolutely helps him, and New leaving helps all the Guardians quite a bit. I think another big winner coming out in this meta that we're starting to see a little bit is actually Kasai. if we look at the data from the national championships, the kind of the top two dogs, are Florian and Burns, right? And we can expect that to be much the same moving forward.
Yeah.
Of all the other heroes, there were only, I think, 2 that had positive win rates into both of those. And those were Gravy Bones and Kasai. And Kasai also had a positive win rate into Gravy Bones.
Yeah.
So I think she's a very interesting hero to look at moving forward. Both of the builds, I think, both the kind of classic Blade Runner builds and the more recent kind of draw swords, Rothermel style, did pretty well.
Yeah.
So definitely keeping an eye out on that one. Ravi, of course, as his deck does develop, did have a very good showing. Ended up winning the Battle Hardened there, piloted by Brody Spurlock.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing plenty of him moving forward, especially as product distribution keeps rolling out and the cards become more available. And hopefully some of these prices start coming down.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Ooh. And people wonder why we can't travel to as many Fab events as we'd like.
Well, at least like this time the Codex reprint worked, like, because last time the CNC didn't help with the prices, like
it helped a little bit, but not
a little bit. And it was like a short period of time, because like with the last, it was like, I think this is the 4th time they do this. Like they did this with the Crown of Providence. They also did the Tunic. Both of those went down the price. Then CNC and now the Codex. Only CNC was the one like that didn't work that well. But like I see that like Codex is almost $50 now, which is way less than it was before.
That's I think what I sold mine for back when On the Outsiders released. So I was I'm feeling slightly less bad about things now.
Yeah. I was really lucky to get like my 3 of them in Outside, because like I've always played with Assassin. I started with Uzuri. I was like suffering playing against Domai, but like never letting down the deck. And then
I would love to like play things like Arachne Marionette. I think that's an awesome deck to play. But the assassin cards themselves have just been so expensive, and Codex is a big part of that.
And it's crazy because it have always been like that. Even though when like Uzuri was a bad deck, and Arachne, unfortunately, they need to preach lots of contracts to make it better. But anyways, even though when the decks were like low tiered, the cards were still expensive. I don't know why. I think like people love like in the casual environment, people love to play with Assassin.
Love the idea of it. It was printed in a side set, so there just may not have been as much product of it going out. And then Surgical Extraction, if I recall correctly, was accidentally short printed.
Exactly.
And Dust to Down, they did
they corrected in Dust to Down.
But by that point, Assassin was gaining in popularity because Uzuri, and then later New, so kind of all bounced back out, and it all went right back up.
Yeah. Like everything in the game.
Like everything, I know. And I'm certainly, I think, guilty of doing that to some of Prism's cards now as well.
Yeah.
I think I've seen those start to spike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of my Runeblade cards spike a little bit, so... like fashion, but what do you think like about these prices and stuff, and how they do reprint?
Man, it's
a tough one.
Yeah, it's really tough.
So on the one hand, I understand that a lot of the issue is due to the fact that Flesh and Blood is a growing game. There's so much demand for these cards from competitive players that the amount of product to the demand just is not keeping up. On the other hand, I know that the death knell for any card game is overprinting its product from a business side. So I understand that. I understand that underprinting it and making sure the game gets to continue to grow is going to be more important, as frustrating as that is. So I do hope they do find a better answer than we've got. Seeing these legendary reprints of staples is nice, but it feels like a bit of a band-aid. We get one card a set that's like this. It feels like as the game continues to expand with more classes, that it's going to happen at a faster rate than that can keep up with. So ultimately, my big suspicion is that one day Flesh and Blood will need to introduce something more of closer to a set rotation. I think that will end up, if not exactly happening, effectively happening down the line. I think if we're keeping this kind of reprint policy and trying not to print things into the ground to accidentally kill part of the game, then that's going to end up being necessary.
And also we now have the chain pack with the huntsman and this kind of stuff. I really like it.
That's one way they can help start to fix that a little bit. Other options. So we just need more.
I feel like they are doing like exactly what you're saying, because like I see the movements. They introduced the LL format in the words. They are gonna get like more attention to this format. This is like the first step in the direction that you're saying, because once like the LL gets more stabilized, they can like do like how I would say like a pseudo rotation, ban lots of cards, but not impacting the value of those cards, because there's a second format. Because for example, when they banned like the Art of War, it was really bad. Like for everyone that had like I had the card. The card like went to like almost 10%, 15% of the price, and it's really bad. I understand that. I agree with the banning, because like it was necessary for the health of the game, but like it's really bad like on the monetary standpoint, So once the LL format gets bigger, this solves. Another thing that I feel that I hope they do is introduce like a how can I say, more casual format. We still have the UPF. Like once the UPF gets like really, really popular, really good, then we're gonna have like more cards that like are really bad on the competitive, but really fun on the UPF, and then the prices get to spread a little bit. Like it was on Magic the Gathering, right, with Commander.
Yeah, so that was exactly the comparison. Flesh and Blood needs its Commander format.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they are trying to do the Project Blue, but it's still in alpha test, kind of. And I think it's going to be a really good format for new players.
I hope so. It looks very interesting.
Yeah, we have a commoner also, but some people don't like it. I love it, in my personal opinion, but some people don't like it. Maybe Project Blue can be like the between of commoner and the class constructed. I don't know.
Yeah, for me it's really hard to talk about that, because like Flesh and Blood consumes too much of my time for like it's a hobby that consumes too much of my time. So like I dedicate only to CC and draft. Like I don't play the other formats.
Talking about this like new formats and stuff. Have you seen like the new product that is going to be a LL deck with Viscerai and the Prism?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it, and how you feel about like a new Monarch set? I'm hyped. Look at this. I'm Shane player, so
yeah.
I'm hyped.
It's a Shane enthusiast.
There you go.
Oh yeah, like I said, that was all those original like Super Broken Heroes. They were just before my time. So, and I haven't played much Living Legend myself yet. That will change, of course, with the World's 3 format this year. With that said, Monarch 3, Prism 3, right? Surely that's what's going to happen. No, I think it's exciting. I think, especially now that they've printed this new Herald, it's kind of opened the floodgates on more support they can print for Prism, because those original Monarch heroes, with the exception of Bolton, I think have the smallest card pools of like any hero because of how siloed they are. At least certainly the smallest usable card pools for their mechanics. So new Monarchs have to kind of expand on that and kind of push the directions so they can take that. Absolutely exciting. As far as the Living Legend deck themselves are concerned, we'll have to see. I think both are great choices for people looking to get into the Living Legend format. Viscerai, of course, having just recently been a power contender in Classic Constructed, and having extremely potent tools available specifically in Living Legend. Prism's, of course, always been a staple of the format, and the new hat is really, really interesting.
Yeah, you can. Oh my god.
I don't know that it can make make any waves in Classic Constructed with New Prism, just because Halo is so good for Prism, for Awakener of Soul rather. But there's a lot of potential shenanigans with the priority windows and the timing on like banishing things from Soul and getting the auras back out. That there's the potential for a fairly deterministic setup combo you can do with it. That might be good enough. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, though, if they are going to try and push the Living Legend format, this is the sort of thing they need to do. They need to have products and attention drawn specifically to it. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. And also, you have like some plays that are really obvious, like Arclight Sentinel. Come on, it's just amazing. If you don't have like access,
aura, what's the most expensive aura?
Yeah.
I would like to ask you about like the how is the how do you feel like the LL format is gonna be like? You said you haven't played too much, but like do you think that if you go there, you're gonna maintain the new Prism, or you're gonna go to the OG one? Like what do you feel about like those two Prisms?
I suspect, I don't know, I've talked to some people who have played Living Legends, so I suspect, from what I understand, that the old Prism is slightly better. Now, granted, part of that was because Starvo was such a huge deal. Starvo just got a pretty big ban to him on the most recent VNR with the Crown of Seeds going. So, if he's no longer the threat he once was, sort of the all-determining meta, then maybe New Prism does creep back in, because she can convert those angels somewhat more aggressively. She has to, given the lower starting life total. And I suspect that if it turns out, say, Zen or Lexi are like sort of a little more dominant now as a result of the changes to both Starvo and Chain, that it could be that New Prism is the superior choice. With that said, at least for my initial forays into the Living Legend, I'm going to be trying out some other things. I know there's a lot of excitement around Icelander right now with the unbanning of Hypothermia in Living Legend. And Icelander was another deck that I was interested in, but never really had much opportunity to try competitively before she Living Legended. As well as, there was plenty of opportunity, but I was on Prism at the time, so Dromai in the format with some of
she got new tools, right? Like the boots are really good.
Yeah, the Snapdragon Scalers, which with the big dragons especially can be backbreaking.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of stuff to explore. I definitely will not be binding myself to Prism, because I think a lot of Prism's strength in Living Legend was tied to her matchup into Starvo, and with that potentially not being as much of a thing anymore, it's a whole new format. It's a whole new ball game that we're gonna have to solve by the time Worlds comes around.
With the bans now, we can say that we have a format. 6 months ago was Shane versus Starvo, so now we have a format. We are here for almost an hour, so I have my last question. The last set was Pirates. And in Brazil we have a promo that is unmovable, that's Dwarves. So I think the next set, or maybe next year, we have this class, Dwarves. You have a class or something you'd like to see in the game?
Ooh, interesting.
Let's see. I think that I think some kind of constructed legal shapeshifter class would be very interesting. I don't know what that would look like. I wouldn't expect it to be sort of like Shiana, just using specializations or like that. But some class that is, their whole thing is just how flexible their tools and deck construction can be. I think It's not something actually I've thought much about. I've speculated plenty on cards for specific heroes. Like I came up with that Betsy's log weapon should wager an intellect when it attacks.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
But as far as like new classes or heroes, I don't know. My mind when I say think shapeshifter, I'm actually thinking something more of like some kind of mutant class of some sort is like springing to mind that could be
like
somewhat
an X-Men?
interesting.
Like what's the name of the blue lady in X-Men? What's her name?
Mystique.
Mystique. Yeah. Kind of this.
Not exactly. I was thinking of something a little bit more brutal than that. Something more along the lines of kind of, I don't want to go so far as to say like body horror, but kind of that kind of, werewolf shapeshiftery thing. The mechanic that immediately came to mind is maybe they can pre-game shift around their equipment slots they have available, like trade out one of their arm slots for an extra leg slot or something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Also, like they can do like a reverse Levi, right? Like you
kind of, exactly.
Yeah, like you start to grow your character, like something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to build it. Oh, it's like a kind of how can I say tackle bossing, but different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel it.
I was so excited for Tekla when we first heard the idea of like, building up your mech suit and like using these different pieces, and it just turned out to be so different in practice.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Yeah, the action equipments are really, really easy to get advantage into, right? Like that complicates a lot, like for Tekla. One class that I'm hoping they get soon is the alchemist, because with using all the potions, something related to potions, then you're gonna get like my binder and get all those old potions and do something with them.
Hey, if it's a hero that plays a bunch of no blocks, that's my jam.
Yeah.
It's a hero that can break a lot. That's my jam.
Oh yes.
Oh my god.
Tackle for the win.
Exactly.
So cool. I was hoping for a necromant. Now we have it, but I'm like waiting for like a shadow necromant.
Yeah, I'm expecting we're going to see more expansions of the necromancer class very soon. It's they made Gravy and they made his armory deck, but a lot of that's specific to like pirate necromancer. So I would not be at all surprised if we saw a little bit more of either a different talent or a more generic necromancer printed in the near future. I don't know if the next set is too soon, but it might make sense for Monarch 3 as well,
Yeah.
Kind of fits the vibe.
Yeah, and Savage Lands too, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you can put a necromancer, like a shamanist.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think it was it confirmed that the next set is going to involve Brute, so there's like the heavy speculation that that's the Savage Land set.
Yeah.
Could be. Absolutely could be. Like I said, I would not be at all surprised if they did immediately kind of push the card pool for this new class.
Yeah.
I think that
like they did with Outsider, right? Like they did like 2 sets in a row with the assassins there to broaden the to increase the card pool, right? I think they were gonna do the same thing. The next set is gonna be or like a shadow necromancer, like you said, like it would be like the to finish the trilogy of the Monarch, right? Or Savage Lands. That's those are my 2 guesses for the next necromancer in the format.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, want to ask something, chat, Alexandre?
Yeah.
No, I sent to you guys the questions and you asked it all.
Okay,
perfect.
The guys really like. They ask a lot about Prism, and it's nice.
Yeah, we knew we were gonna be like a Prism intensive live stream today.
We try to balance that a little about Prism, a little about the events, a little about the future of the game. I think we got there.
Yeah, for sure.
You had fun, Andrew?
Yeah.
You had fun?
If you don't mind me dropping a quick plug here, I'm currently working on a big Prism primer and matchup guide for the Card Guys Patreon. That should be going up pretty soon, like within the next couple days. So, if people are really interested in Prism and want someplace to start, I would love for you guys to support the team and come see that. And of course, my friend Kevin Murphy does a lot of great content for Prism on his channel. So there's especially as she's getting more visibility, there's a lot of ways to get into the hero these days to start learning about. Yeah. She is very complex. It takes a lot of work and practice, but.
This one I get a time to talk in Portuguese for everybody to know, like to do the merchan. Pessoal, ele acabou de falar que vai sair primer da Prism lá no Patreon do Card Guys, hein? Então quem quiser aprender o deck, quem tiver com interesse em começar a jogar de Prism, ou quem já joga e quer masterizar, né? Pegar os detalhes da gameplay, confere lá. Entra lá no site no YouTube do Card Guys. You have like the link for the patrons on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, the Card Guys is all linked there. It's all available, and going in there, you don't just get my stuff; you get all the Card Guys stuff. A big part of that for any Warrior players out there, of course, is Josh Lau is like the king of the Warriors.
And he's a really nice guy. Like I love to watch his content because also like I think he works like with classes like a professor or something like this. I don't know exactly, but like all his videos are like class oriented. So for me, I really feel like it's like a slideshow with the calculations, with explaining like a beginning, middle, and end. I love it. It's really, really nice.
We should start calling him Professor Lau. I wonder how he'll take that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Almost a teacher.
Yeah. So Andrew, any shout out, any message that you wanna talk to our people? Any last message you want to send to everybody?
Thank you guys so much for coming on and for having me on here today. It was wild to hear that I had people following my progress in nationals all the way out there from Brazil. So it's a huge honor, and I really do hope that I'm able to come down there for an event someday, whether part of the team or just for another major event that Brazil hopefully gets to have in the near future.
We are working in this. We're creating content. We're going to outside Brazil to play games. We think we have another call in Brazil soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely.
I want a calling and 2 battle harnesses in here. It's gonna be
everything.
amazing.
I want Pro Tour here. Everything.
Yeah, Pro Tour Brazil.
Your biggest dream is to have a premiere in Brazil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With another set of 3 heroes with like beach suits to enjoy Copacabana Beach.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It would be amazing.
Yeah. So, with that being said, valeu pessoal, obrigado aí por todo mundo que acompanhou. Primeira live em inglês aí da Pummel Party. Espero que vocês tenham curtido aí. E é nóis, cara. Livezinha extra da semana, ó. 2 lives no dia, vocês estão no lucro, hein, pessoal?
Então é isso. Obrigado, pessoal. Thank you, Andrew. And again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again for being present and for the streams like deck or like class with this lecture, please lecture.
Oh yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
É isso, Alexandre, alguma coisa aí que quer falar?
Não, é isso mesmo, acho que eu vou só boa. Então, muito obrigado e vamos lá.